Welcome everybody to the Youth Developer. Today's interview is with John Scamardella. John is an actor, a web designer, and our favorite stay-at-home dad.
You hear the expression, water finds its own level. Well, my wife and I, Sarah, we knew that we didn't want someone raising our children. We wanted to be the ones to raise them, at least one of us to be home. And she is a teacher. She teaches for the Board of Ed, and and still am a web designer and graphic designer. So it just made sense for me to stay home because you buy a decent computer and some of the software, and I could do the work from anywhere. So that's how we came to that decision. Well, as a stay-at-home dad, I think the best thing to achieve is that your kids are well-adjusted. They're happy going to school. Growing up, it's funny, like whenever I go anywhere where there's going to be figures of authority, I get nervous, or I feel like, is everything going to be okay? And I felt like that, I think way back. I can remember feeling that way when I was 5, just having a lot of anxiety and being very neurotic. And recently I asked my daughter and my son too, and my daughter is in 2nd grade and my son's in kindergarten. And I asked them, I said, do you ever get nervous? Do you ever feel scared when you're going to school? And they looked at me like, no, I don't get scared. And I was like, really? And I was so happy, I was like, you don't get nervous or like you get like the butterflies? And they were looking at me like, we don't know. Why would we get that way? We're going to school. School's fun. School's, those are where my friends are. So that was really, really good to hear. And I've always wanted my kids not to take themselves too seriously. And so early on, I would I remember one time we were in the car and I started making fun of Anna, in a fun way, and she got all mad. And I was like, no, now you make fun of me, and she was like, why? I'm like, no, it's fun. It's fun. Doesn't mean anything because we love each other and we're not really mean, and we could be that way. So, later on when she, in 1st grade, I think it was, when she came home one day and she says, yeah, my friend Haley called me weird. And I was like, oh. I said, well, how did you feel about that? She goes, well, I am kind of weird. And that just made me happy because it was like I wanted to give them those tools to not take themselves too serious, not blow up everything in proportion, and to be in, so I felt like, that was something I did that was good. My preliminary goal right now is to get into a union, whether it be Actors Equity or SAG or both, and that takes a lot of my day. I'll go into the city, sign in at some audition, sit there with my laptop, work, and wait. And so it actually works out. So I'm going to be doing that for the next, for at least for a year, and see, and hopefully something will come of that. I've got to get up at around 6 a.m. And then I got to get my kids up, and then I have to make sure that they have lunch ready and that they're dressed appropriately and their hair's brushed and teeth are brushed, and I get them to school around 7:30, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, so they have time to eat breakfast because they like to eat breakfast with their friends. They don't. If I bring them in at 8, they get all angry because they wanted to be there early. And then after that, I go home. I check the listings for, see what auditions are available. I also actually read my Bible and pray. Spiritual. You got to have the spiritual element there. And then I'll have somewhere in between. I'll have breakfast, and then hopefully, if I try to get out of the house at around between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, get myself on the bus to the ferry and get into the city. If I'm not going into the city that day, I'll just work from home. And also, there's also cooking that has to be done for later on in the day, or preparing, cutting up vegetables, that kind of thing. Running errands, food shopping may come into play. And then when it's time to pick up the kids, my wife comes home. Sometimes my wife will come home before the kids, and we have some time to talk, which is great. So really, when I think about it, I'm actually really blessed to live this life. And then then we get the kids, we have dinner with them, we have dinner as a family every night, every single night, and then they get their pajamas on, we watch a show and read a story, and it's to bed. Going to parties where there's other dads who are not stay-at-home dads, there's not much for me to talk to them. Like I talk more with the stay-at-home moms about stuff, and until recently I felt really insecure about that, because it's sort of it feels kind of weird until like a lot of guys who are working, like one guy in particular, my cousin's husband pulled me aside and said, "Listen, I just want you to know," and he's very successful at what he does, and he was like, "Listen, I just want you to know, I envy you." And I was like, "You envy me? Why?" And he's like, "I don't get to see my kids as much as you do, and you can really tell how your kids, how well adjusted and how just you got some great kids, and I really believe that it's due largely in part because of your presence." And that was a turning point, because I was like, oh, okay, I'm of the mentality that people think I'm lazy or something, because staying at home isn't really that hard. You just stay at home, you don't. It's not difficult,
Right.
But in a way it is too, because you kind of have to take one for the team, and I'm the one doing the dishes and doing the laundry. You are valuable. You are a very valuable member of the team. Especially, if you're doing what it is you need to do to make the household run. I'm assuming that in stay-at-home dad, you're taking care of the finances, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're just managing your house, and then possibly if you're bringing in extra money too in some way, shape, or form. That's huge. But even if you're not. The fact that all that's the shopping, all those errands that you run are just errands that your wife and you don't have to do on the weekend, and you actually get to have your weekends to go to the museums with the kids, to go to the park, to go wherever you want to go, and just have fun and relax. That's a huge plus for the working spouse. So don't sell yourself short like I did for years actually. Realize that you have value and that you are a huge asset to your team.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops.
Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting. Before that, I was reading a book on WordPress, which is a content management system for, web development. And I use WordPress in pretty much every website I make. Yeah, I guess sharpening the saw is a big deal, especially when you're kind of self-managed. You have to keep it up. My minister, Sheridan Wright, he is a great mentor. He's very helpful. The thing about him is he's just a listener, and he listens, he gathers information, and then once he'll keep asking questions. Like I've sat and talked to him so much, and then when I thought that I've talked so much, and he'll ask more questions, like, and what about this, and what about that, and then once he has all the information, he gives you some great advice, and he's just been it's been really helpful to me. In fact, that's how I came to that conclusion, or that realization that, hey, I'm a valuable member of the team. It was due largely in part to his help, his mentorship, his encouragement. Well, definitely my wife is the way she is so supportive. She's supportive to a fault. Most wives would have a problem with their husbands going out to auditions and be like, "Are you sure is this the best way to spend your time?" She's like, "Hey, look, I know this is important to you. If you think you can do it, I think you should do it, and I think you should go all out." And it's like, it's just amazing. Who's gonna ever do that? Almost sometimes I feel like, you should be a little bit more hard on me, but she's not. She's completely supportive. And my brother-in-law Mario whenever I have a financial quandary or just advice I need financially, he's always there with some good advice and some, but also a great listener too, and just a great guy. Like, I love the things that I am doing. I love doing. I love web design and I love acting. So kind of the reward is in when I do a good job. So that's helpful. If I'm able to go to an audition, whether I get it or not, if I feel like, oh, that was a really good audition, like, you never, like, they're so the industry's so saturated. It could come down to, well, his hair was shorter than yours, and it's like, I couldn't get a haircut, but there's so many people to pick from. But if I felt like, I went in there and I did a great job, I feel good about that. And then at the end of the day, I unwind with watching, something on Netflix, like episodes of Parks and Rec, or any sitcom will do. I think one of the most important things, again, for a stay-at-home parent, especially for a male stay-at-home parent, is, again, you're valuable. You are valuable, and just, whether you're president of the United States, or you're sweeping the street, or you're a stay-at-home dad, or whatever you are, you gotta put everything you've got into it, and you'll be happy. You'll be happy doing it.
And that wraps up our interview with John Scamardella, a true superstar. As always, please don't forget to leave your love for John, comments and likes, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Why superstars?